Okay, so this is where we are supposed to pick up. Okay, the integration of gender and development with our curriculum, or with the curriculum, or no, we can just say with our subject, with the subject that we teach. So again, it's premised on the belief that social justice, which is one of the major aims of education, is difficult to come by, perhaps nearly impossible, if we educators don't help challenge and modify gender views and gender-related practices that perpetuate inequality or inequity. What subject matters to teach and how to teach them? I've been mentioning some key concepts in critical pedagogy, and these concepts overlap with the key concepts in gender and development. So, if this will be of interest again to you, you could include gender and development in your plan to teach critical pedagogy as a tool of analysis, okay, or for analyzing the political, economic, and social, as well as cultural situation of the students. The purpose, of course, is to afford them the opportunity to take part in shaping the directions of their careers in the future. So, yan yung empowering value ng critical pedagogy. Ang philosophy is not, again, is not so the traditional one. Even analytic philosophy does not directly address matters like this. But then again, as a tool, philosophy could be used to address the issues that have been haunting gender and development and critical pedagogy. And again, what subject matters to teach and how to teach them? Okay, the first subject matters. By subject matters, ibig kong sabihin topic, equality and equity. So, this brings us to the question: ano ang equality and ano ang equity? This is not a presentation about the concepts of equality and equity alone. So, I'm not going to discuss these concepts at length. Okay? Equality implies sameness. That's what we know about the concept at this point. So everyone, if that is the case, must be treated the same way. Now, you're probably, some of you are probably asking this question: should we treat everyone the same way in every way or in all possible situations? Already we know the answer to that. Hindi pwedeng pairalin ang equality, the principle of equality at all times. Where differential treatment is in order, we cannot decide matters based on the principle of equality. Kung buntis yung tao, at ang opisina ay nasa fifth floor at walang elevator, at delikado yung pregnancy, she cannot be treated as an equal of the other workers on that count. Okay. Equity implies difference, so everyone must be treated according to their needs. Okay. Well, this is related to the idea of differential treatment. We don't treat little children like they are adults. Okay. When we teach them, we don't teach them the same way we teach college students. And what is at work there is the principle of equity. We may be college professors, but or senior high school professors, but if we are going to deal with our own little children, grade 1, grade 2 children, we don't teach them the way we teach our adult students. And what is at work there is the principle of equity. Now, there's a larger or higher problem on that. How do we determine kung kailan paiiralin ang equality at equity? Meron bang criteria kayong naiisip? Kasi kung minsan, ang gusto ng iba pairalin ang equality. Ang iba naman ang gustong pairalin ay equity. So, is there any set of criteria by which we could decide with certainty, that one must, the other one must be the basis of our decision according to our unimpeachable set of criteria? Bigyan ko kayo ng example na isa. You're all familiar with the so-called affirmative action. Who's familiar with the concept of affirmative action? Affirmative action. Yes, sir. What?
So yung ba yung sa United States?
Yes.
Because of what the African Americans went through as a race.
Yes.
In the history of US, the state at that time opined that they needed to make it up because there was an imbalance from the start in considering the situation of the African Americans and the white Americans. So there was an affirmative action to include and to give more merits to the African American population.
To get them to catch up, right? With the so-called favored class. Underprivileged yung halimbawa yung mga African Americans in the United States, and for a long time they were victims of discrimination, and that's the main reason why so many of them did not advance significantly in life. Poor yung kanilang economic state, and more. Some of them are even recidivist criminals. And they say that this is not, they cannot be faulted for this. The white society created the kind of circumstances that led to the production of criminal elements in their society. May mga circumstances na nabuo, and these are the roots of the problems. Lack of education on the part of the African Americans, lack of interest in education, even drug addiction, so many cases of unwanted, unplanned pregnancies. Ito ay ina-associate actually sa pagtaas ng crime rate sa US nung araw. So sabi nila, one way to get them to catch up is to create a room for them to create a room for them to avail themselves of the kind of education afforded to the white people. So, in short, ang affirmative action is a case of favoring a previously disadvantaged group of people. You favor them. But how exactly do you favor them? So ganito yung pag-favor. One way to favor them is to, for example, set aside admission slots in the university like Harvard, Princeton, Yale universities. No, they would set aside a certain number of admission slots, no, in college for the disadvantaged groups, Hispanics, Black, African American. Now, if you are a white student, you cannot take those slots away from them. It's reserved for them, regardless of their scores in the entrance exam. The answer is yes. Kahit mababa, yung pinakamataas sa kanila, yun ang bibigyan ng slot. Is that fair or not? Sabi ng ng critic nito, this is reverse discrimination. This is not fair. We are all equals, right? So lay all the admission slots on the table, no? And these are all up for grabs regardless of your race. We are all equals. But we've been disadvantaged for a long time, sabi ng African Americans. Now, think of the Lumans, of the Aitas in the Philippines, no, and other disadvantaged minority or ethnic groups. Di ba hindi rin naman sila nabigyan ng pagkakataon, no, to advance significantly in life, even if some of them are interested, no, in advancing their education, even beyond college, no, up to the graduate level. But how can they pass the entrance exam to the University of Santo Tomas? Mahirap. Sa Lasal, sa Ateneo, sa UP. Hindi sila makapag-compete. So, is it just to set aside a certain number of admission slots only for them? Tama ba yun? Others would say yes, others would say no. We are not going to resolve that issue. Ang interest natin, no, sa philosophy ay kung posible ba makapag-develop ng set of criteria that we could use to decide whether that kind of issue should be decided, okay, on the basis of the principle of equity or equality. Ang affirmative action is, no, from the principle of equity, right? Unjust din naman to, sabi ng isa. Well, it's pretty exciting to hear, no, young students debate on this. Give them time to, no, to collect, okay, supporting pieces of evidence, okay, for their conflicting sides, and hear them out, no, on the matter. But of course, the teacher should be able to resolve the matter, no, before meeting the class, no, kasi mas we know from experience, no, that we could get the students to discuss, no, we could get the students to come up with something better or with better ideas, okay, if the teacher, no, is coming from a certain position. But you don't have to reveal your position. You could even come up with two resolutions, no, conflicting resolutions, because kung minsan, no, it makes sense, no, to be the devil's advocate. Okay, we are not looking for we are not necessarily looking, no, in philosophy, we are not necessarily looking for students who will be with us against, no, others on a certain issue. We are particularly interested in their ability to reason and to offer solutions to difficult problems. So, yeah, it's no, the issue on equality and equity is, no, for me, it's pretty exciting. Okay, and habang gumagaling ka sa issue na ito, no, you would feel that, no, you become a better teacher than before. Okay, this is another topic in critical pedagogy. non-essentialism. Okay, essentialism is a doctrine in philosophy, no, that suggests that things, okay, could be broken down into, no, essential properties or traits. But the gender and development movement suggests that men and women, no, and other people, non-binary people with non-binary gender identity are not necessarily divided by exclusive essential functions. No, na ang babae ay para sa bahay. Hindi yan essential function. Na ang babae ay ilaw ng tahanan, whatever that means. Okay? Inassign ito, no, it's a view that assigned traits are non-essential features of gender. Inimpose ito, no, dahan-dahan sa mga tao, no, na ang lalaki ay nakapantalon, ang babae ay nakaganito, no, not necessarily according to the doctrine that is called non-essentialism, the opposite of which is essentialism. So, one way to give an exercise on this is to get the students to test whether some assigned traits to boys or girls are true or false. Ask them to prove their answers. Unlike girls, boys prefer playing outdoor games to reading fantasies. There's a film, no, that says that boys love to play, girls want to read fantasy stories. So, kung tayo naman maniwala kagad, no, nagki-create tayo ng stereotypes, no. Unlike boys, girls prefer reading fantasies to playing outdoor games. Boys are better at math than girls. Girls are more caring than boys. Girls are more caring than boys. There's a research by Carol Gilligan suggesting that unlike boys, girls are more inclined to value highly, no, this thing that they call caring. Yung boys daw, no, value more justice over other things. Si Carol Gilligan, no, Kohlberg, no, it was Kohlberg who did the research, and Kohlberg was the mentor of Carol Gilligan, but Carol Gilligan was not happy with the result of the research of Kohlberg. So she came up with a similar research, but this time her research participants were girls, and she found that in the hierarchy of value of girls, no, the one on top is caring, not justice. But this again could create, no, questionable stereotypes. Ibig mong sabihin pag lalaki, no, hindi caring. We shall have more to say about stereotype. No? Kasama sa topic yung stereotype. Boys make better leaders than girls. Girls mature faster than boys. Girls will make better class secretaries than boys.
Yes.
Okay? Mga ganun. No? Ito daw yung mga ganitong bagay ay china-challenge na kaagad. No? So, in philosophy class, we could inform, no, our students in this fashion, no, and we could advise them that what they have learned in philo class should be applied in other educational situations, so that, no, kung tama nga yung sinasabi ng gender and development, no, hindi ma-perpetuate yung assignment ng gender roles sa lalaki, sa babae, at sa iba pang mga tao, no, na non-binary ang gender identities. So, how do we respond to statements like, be a man? If, for example, you're being teased for not being brave enough to accept the role of a leader being assigned to you by some of your group mates. We learn to develop, no? Some people learn to develop their ability to shame people, no? in order to get them to submit to their persuasion. Okay? Or in order to get them to stop doing something. Bakit ka ganyan? Professor ka pa naman. Bakit? Ang professor hindi ba pwedeng maging ganyan? Hindi ba pwedeng ganyan magsalita? No? O ganyan. Ba't ka ganyan magdamit? T-shirt at saka pantalon, may PhD ka pa naman. Nung araw na ganun ako, naka-t-shirt ako at saka naka-maong, yung mga PhD students ko, sila yung mukhang professor. So, nasasama yung mga ganong critique sa student evaluation of teachers. Kaya sa opening ng klase, inuunahan ko na sila. Comfortable ako sa damit ko, and I'm not violating your rights and interests with the way with the way I dress. So, ignore my sense of sartorial elegance. It's not going to hurt you. Okay, just listen to me with an open mind that's focused on our subject matters. So, ganun kong niremedyohan yung ganong criticism sa pananamit ko nung araw. How do you respond to statements? Like, be a man. We don't give, the answers that I give today, you don't give them to your students, right? Binibilisan lang natin kasi hindi naman kayo mga estudyante, parehas tayong mga teachers. Okay, so there are several good answers to the foregoing situation. Okay, but you may add some more in the list. Being a leader is different from being a man. A girl could be an effective leader, or one need not be a leader to be a man. Okay. A while ago, I mentioned the term gendered, right? Gendered na yung paglalaro ng manika. No? Gendered na yung paglalaro ng toy soldier. Okay? Naalala ko yung pinsan ko na conservative. Yung pinsan kong conservative ay lalaki. May kapatid siya na ayaw makipaglaro sa mga babae, ayaw ng bahay-bahayan. Kami mga lalaki, tumbang preso, taguan, habulan, doon gusto makipaglaro nung babae. Palagi niyang tinutulak nung bata pa kami. Doon ka nga, kababae mong tao. So may malamang, hindi kami pinalaki sa isang lugar. Nakikita lang kami tuwing bakasyon sa Aklan. Yun ang converging place namin magpipinsan. So malamang sa bahay may mga inassign ng role sa kanila. Kababae mong tao. Tutulak niya hanggang umiyak yung pinsan kong babae. Kasi gusto mo mag-participate. She wants to be included. Among the boys, naglalaro lang naman eh. Okay. So, it's also a way of shaming another person. Kung babae ka ba, bakit mo ginagawa? Bakit dito ka? Kababae mong tao, nag-drive ka ng taxi. Mga ganun. So, on the idea of gendered. Okay, ask students to give examples of things that have been gendered. Then get them to explain why such things are not necessarily so. But it's likewise important to define gendered. When do we say that something has been gendered? So here's the answer. Okay, gendered things or activities are just social constructs. Okay, doing household chores, taking care of children, gardening, earning for the family. Colors like blue, yung colors na gendered na rin yan, di ba? Nung araw. Sa New Zealand, we lived in New Zealand for a number of months. Ayaw daw magsuot ng pink na damit nung araw yung mga natives sa New Zealand. And then they started noticing the Asian immigrants mga East Asians, hindi mga Filipinos, wearing pink and light colored shirts, and they don't seem to mind. Okay, they even kind of like the color of what they wear. So eventually, yung mga New Zealanders nagsusuot na rin ng mga pink na damit. So I concluded that before, the color pink had been gendered in the New Zealand. Okay, another concept is violence. Even if violence seems obvious to most of us, okay, when I ask the question in my own class, say in values education, what is violence? Parang nagugulat yung mga estudyante. Ano nga ba yung violence? Okay, but of course, central to the idea of violence, we tend to agree, is the notion of force. Okay, or the use of force. This is the story that I was referring to this morning. Okay, the case of two lesbians who were seen kissing each other inside a bus. And a group of young men were not happy with what they saw. They wanted more. So they started telling them to kiss some more. But siyempre, ayaw nilang mag-kiss. But they were forcing them until naging threatening na sila, and one of them, okay, tried to put up a fight. She was alone in the middle of the bus, and one of them, I think the lady in white, okay, until now she saw them. She saw the boys hitting her partner on the face, and she attempted to help her. In the process, she also got hurt. So she suffered from broken teeth and a broken nose. This happened, I think, 2 weeks ago in London. You have seen this on Facebook, right? Who among you have seen this on Facebook? This was posted on Facebook. So, again, ito nga sa highly industrialized countries, parang kulang pa rin ang gender education. Dito ba sa atin sufficient ang gender education? So, there are many mechanisms of domination, and one of the mechanisms by which men dominate and abuse women and individuals with other gender identities is through violence. And what are some of the causes of violence on women, non-binary or transgender individuals? Okay, this is a good question to raise. Okay, maybe kailangan ng research dito. Okay, then we could ask the students to propose solutions to the problem in view. Okay, a short desk research could be conducted for this topic. Pwede rin naman yung cellphone na gamitin to generate answers to these problems. Briefly, I define violence as cruelty or inhumanity which physically or emotionally or both harms others. But this morning I mentioned this. No, I mentioned the expression symbolic violence. Symbolic violence. This may also come in the form of excluding children with special needs from the classroom activities, or ignoring students with special needs inside the classroom, or shaming 2 or 3 students in the classroom for their inability to speak in Filipino because they were raised in a family that speaks and thinks in English. And again, like I said, ang inclusion actually ay dinevelop to include yung a small fraction of the members of the class. Ngayon sa atin, ang inclusion lumalabas sa maraming schools, inclusion ng majority. Pag na-include mo yung majority, inclusion na yon. Actually, mahirap ang inclusion kasi konti lang ang ina-accommodate mo, and still, from time to time, you have to go out of your way to accommodate the minority, the minority in class. They could be children with special needs or children from ethnic communities, or children who are unable to use the dominant language in class. Pag pinagtatawanan ang may Bisaya accent, that could be an instance of symbolic violence. Pag sinishame, eventually hindi na magsasalita, hindi na magpa-participate sa classroom discussion. That is the result of symbolic violence perpetrated against some members of the class. But the kind of violence that we are talking about here is cruelty or inhumanity, which physically or emotionally or both harms others. Yung case ng battered women, emotional violence. This is an instance of emotional violence. So it has been observed that some causes of violence on women, non-binary or transgender individuals are the following: sheer ignorance, bigotry, lack of respect, lack of education. These causes should be discussed at length to make the exercise highly informative and educational. We might not be able to persuade everyone to change their view or to get rid of their bigotry, but probably we shall be able to reverse some views in the process. We might not be able to get a perfect score in our attempt to educate everyone, but probably eventually lahat siguro magkakaroon ng changes. It's not impossible for everyone to change. Those who need to reframe their views of women and other people, with different sexual orientations. Stereotype is another concept that could be discussed. Now I've been talking about definition. How are we supposed to define terms? How are we supposed to define terms? Meron akong nire-recommend palagi sa mga estudyante ko na algorithm. A formula for defining terms. Ang hindi pwedeng matanggal dito ay yung features. Okay? Because when you define, you're supposed to cite the distinctive qualities, properties, or traits or features of the concept in question. The only thing that we can define, no, it's been pointed out in analytic philosophy or philosophical analysis, are the so-called primaries. No, like the color yellow, you can't define it. No, imagine a person who was blind since birth. You won't be able to tell him what yellow is. No, the way you experience it. Okay, it cannot be broken down. It's a simple thing. No, that's another term for primitive. Okay, or primary or elementary. It's too elementary to be it's already too elementary para ma-breakdown mo pa. So kailangan palang complex, no, yung isang bagay o yung isang konsepto o yung idea para maging definable. And an example of such idea is triangle. A triangle, okay, has three sides and three angles. Those are the features. The class of which it is a member is polygon or plane figure. Okay? And often this is ignored, yung concretization or illustration of the concept in question. It's really a good thing, no? If we could develop, okay, among our students, the ability to cite non-controversial examples of concepts, okay, that we are asking them to define. Okay, basically this form of definition has two parts. The abstract is from class to features, and the concrete, which are the examples. In our subject called Philo 1, which is philosophical analysis, this was named philosophical analytic definition. Who's familiar with this? Analytic definition. Okay. Madali lang i-define ang triangle. It's a plane figure that has three sides and three angles. No, you may add whose sum is always 180 degrees. Some examples to be clear about it are the following: isosceles, scalene, no, and so on. Okay. Ano ang government? Madali lang i-define ang government kasi nandyan na yung definition, no, na ginawa ko. Pero imagine kung wala yan. Somebody ask you this question: teacher, what's the difference between government and administration? Medyo baka mga ilangan ng oras yung professor kung hindi ito na itanong sa kanya previously, no, at napaghandaan niya yung tanong. So, bibilisan ko na lang, no? So, ganito kung ni-resolve yung issue na yan. Ang government, no, nung pinag-isipan ko, ang government ay walang term of office. Ang administration ay may term of office. So, no, logically speaking, it seems awkward to use government and administration interchangeably as though they mean one and the same thing. Like, Duterte administration, that sounds fine. Duterte government, pwede ba yun? But some journalists would use the expression Duterte government, Arroyo government, Ramos government. It should be Ramos administration, Duterte administration. An administration, okay, no, consists of people who were either elected or appointed to run a public office. Whereas a government is an institution. That's the class of which there, okay, there's a heading there. Class. The class of which triangle is a member is plane figure, and the class of which government is a member is institution. And if by government we mean Philippine American, Spanish, Canadian governments, then this is an institution, unlike family, unlike church, unlike the media, okay, that has the exclusive power to enforce certain rules of conduct which are called laws in a given geographical location. Note again that this definition is basically made up of three parts: the class, the features, and the examples. Hihirap na ngayon ito sa philosophy. Ano ang example ng administration? O di Duterte administration. Di ba? So, nako-concretize. Ngayon, ito yung isang challenge. Mahirap maghanap ng features kasi abstract nga, no, ang features. Mahirap din maghanap ng class kaagad. Halimbawa, ang i-define mo, education. What then is the class of which it is a member? Sir, ma'am, distinguish between philosophy and religion. So, ano yung class of which philosophy is a member? Well, it seems, no, mukhang hindi mahirap. It's an area of study. Pwedeng ganon, di ba? Yun ang class of which it is a member. Okay, how do you concretize that? With reference to the sort of questions that philosophy seeks to address. Okay, so, ganito ang nangyayari, no, sa mga terms sa philosophy. Maghahanap ang professor ng illustrative situations to clarify, the concept. But the job is not yet over. Kasi katulad dito nung encounter between Euthyphro and Plato. Sabi ni Plato, what is piety, Euthyphro? Sabi ni Euthyphro, piety is, the act of worshiping the gods. No, that's the act. No, it's an act of piety, but that's not piety itself. Piety, when I ask you what piety is, I want you to cite the features of piety. And so, the discussion continued. Okay? But that's a good thing. No? Hindi naman kailangan tama kaagad yung sagot ng estudyante. Ang importante ay nakikita niya na inadequate yung sagot ko. No? Kung Socratic yung style. It's easy to do the Socratic dialogue if you already have an answer to your own question, because it becomes easier to spot the inadequacies of the answer of the students, and to do the Socratic dialogue kung meron ka ng sagot. Kung wala ka pang sagot, medyo tatagal yung usapan. Okay. So, there's a variant model, for defining terms. Kung mahirap maghanap ng class kanina at saka features, start with examples. Okay? Halimbawa, equality ang dinidefine. Ano yung example? O di give a situation where students are treated as equals. Yung test ng student without special needs at test ng student with special needs ay parehas in every way. Hindi customized ang test ng batang may special needs. And after which, kung klaro na yan, nabigyan na ng definition, saka lang magtatanong, tama ba ang equality at all times? So, tinatanong yun kasi, di ba, iniingatan nga natin na mag-end up yung estudyante na magsabing, universal value pala ito. Relative yung value ng equality. No? Sir, how about love? I-define mo na yung love. Okay? Ano ba yan? Universal value ba yan? Ang freedom ba universal value? Depende. Alam mo naman pakawalan mo yung mga inmates sa National Bilibid prison. Or alam nga namang pabayaan mo maglaro yung toddler sa kalsada. Di ba? If freedom is an absolute good, then by all means, anyone who wants to be left alone, to do their thing, anytime, anywhere, regardless of the situation, should be allowed to exercise their freedom. But freedom is not an absolute value. The same goes for love. There are we love different things, no? And some of the things that people love are not worth going through the barricades for. Say, for example, somebody loves to sniff cocaine or shabu, or to smoke the illicit marijuana. So what kind of love is that? Love is not necessarily a universal value. Okay, seen through that seen through this vantage point. Okay. In any case, I would like to go back to the matter on defining terms. If it's difficult, there are basically two parts: the abstraction and the concrete. The abstract and the concrete parts. Yung concrete, yung example. Yung abstract ay yung class of which the term to be defined is a member. And the next part is the set of features. No? Define, di ba? Define, ano ang defining traits? O di yun ang features. Pag mahirap mag-define, no? Or magsimula sa abstraction, start with examples. What is a bat? I mean, that animal, okay, that could fly. What is it? Okay, ganito, kung analytic definition ang gagamitin at ito yung approach, ano example? O di, ano yung mga examples? Magbibigay ka ng examples, di ba? Fruit bat is an example of a bat. Another example, vampire bat. You know, there are vampire bats. In Mexico, they really suck blood. Okay? Human beings, cows, goats, animals, including the blood of the campers in Mexico. Okay, so vampire bats, but they are not Dracula. Yun talaga lang ang ano nila. They feed on animal blood. And fruit bat. So, ano ang common features? Okay? At ano ang class of which the bat is a member? It's a nocturnal mammal, right? And the common feature is they are all capable of sustained flight in the dark with a high degree of maneuverability. So, if you're going to restate it, you could not say it in this manner. A bat is a nocturnal mammal that is capable of sustained flight in the dark with a high degree of maneuverability. Okay. Education. Mukhang madali ko lang ginagawa kasi noon ko pa ito pinag-isipan at finormulate ko na. No? What is education? Ang classic answer ng mga estudyante ko ay education is learning. Eh kaso kahit magnanakaw, nag-learn din naman eh. Kahit hold-upper, no? Eventually they would learn how to do their thing. But you wouldn't count that as one of education. No, unless you would say that there is such a thing as good education and bad education, then by all means, you could say it that way. But if by education we mean something value-laden, okay, then we might have to say it in a different way. State the definition in a different way. The class of which it is a member is that it is a human encounter. Education is a human encounter. It cannot be just any encounter because we haven't seen any dog, any cat who would count as educated dogs or educated cats. I mean, wala namang aso at pusa na nag-contemplate ng abortion. Diba? They don't deliberate, okay, on this kind of matters. Walang aso at pusa na nag-iisip, sino kayang iboboto ko na barangay kapitan o kapitan sa kalye namin ngayon? Walang ganon. Wala rin nagpakamatay na aso o pusa. Basta halimbawa yung aso doon sa kabilang kalye, heartbroken. Okay, nagsisenti yung aso. Yeah, and then he thinks about his options. Should I terminate my life? Wala nang kwenta tong buhay ko. Tao lang yung nagre-reflect, nag-iisip ng ganon. So, ang education is a human encounter where we learn to think, okay, deliberate with ourselves, weigh consequences, approximate a value or worth of our courses of action. And in this human encounter, okay, we could say that we learn certain forms of knowledge, certain skills, even attitude, values, okay, and other forms of thinking like creative thinking and imaginative thinking. These are all things human. Ano ang example? That's interesting. Ano ang example ng education? Nahihirapan yung mga estudyante ko. Then I will say, example ng education, science education. Ano pa? Math education. Ano pa? Values education. So, medyo dumadali. You abstract the common features from those encounters. In all those encounters, we learn knowledge, certain values, certain attitudes. Like the attitude that is called skepticism. Okay? We refuse to accept anything upon insufficient evidence, or if we are not happy with the amount of evidence presented, we refuse. Okay? We begin with doubt. Okay? Sometimes we acquire that in a philosophical type of education. Start with doubt, so that you may end up with certainty. Okay? So skeptical attitude could be taught. Yes, ma'am.
On the definition of terms, how true that most seminarians and philosophers have this turgidity for words or highfalutin terms. Like for instance, in a layman's term, a priest would ask, quoting from the Bible, Simon Peter, who do people say I am? And here are the seminarians and philosophers answering, thou art the paradoxical kerygma, the epistemological manifestation of the existential ground of ontological ultimacy. Is that trying to show something that I know more of you? They are known for this.
Any answer from those referred to? Kung yan ay shared language ng isang community at nagkakaintindihan sila, malinaw sa kanila yung lingwahe nila. Parang lingwahe ng ng mga doktor. If you're going to listen to them, speak to each other, or lawyers, you wouldn't understand them, because they are using the language of their profession, and the outsiders were not educated or trained, okay, to speak and think, the way they speak and think. So, if that language is clear enough sa kanila, then it's we could say it's an educational language, insofar as it's an informative language, and it could get them to think more deeply about the matters that they are addressing, or whatever is in view before them. But if you speak that way to a bunch of young students, at hindi sila nai-inform, it might defeat one of the purposes of philosophy, which is to clarify things so that we may be able to get into more serious and deeper matters. Importante ang clarity, di ba, palagi natin sinasabi sa philosophy, because if things are unclear, we will always run the risk of misunderstanding each other, and we might not be able to settle, okay, matters to the satisfaction of everyone, or to the satisfaction of the majority, if it's not possible within a certain period to satisfy everyone. But at least the majority might be able to see what is otherwise unclear or vague, given that the language is familiar to the students. So with young students, those who are new in the field, siguro hindi siguro, kundi makakatulong yung ordinary language philosophizing. There's an advice from Bertrand Russell. If you are a young philosopher, okay, it might not be unwise. Okay, it might be helpful even to learn the technical language of your profession. To do this, okay, you might have to write write down your thoughts using a technical language. But once you have mastered, okay, the language of your profession, okay, and you have been tasked to communicate what you have learned to those who are unfamiliar, those who are still unfamiliar with the contents of your profession, it will help greatly for you to use the ordinary language. So you might so you will succeed in getting them to appreciate the value or the worth of what they are supposed to be doing, which is to philosophize, which is philosophizing. So if we are talking to our colleagues, we could go technical, but with young people, it seems not advisable to sound too technical. Marami rin akong nabasa na mga journals, even in Harvard. Ang advice talaga ng editorial board, if you are going to submit a paper that you want to be considered for publication, please refrain from using technical language. Kasi ang ibang magre-review, hindi naman nag-specialize dyan. Although they are familiar with what you are saying, but they might be asked to review it thoroughly. Kung masyadong technical, hindi na maintindihan paano mabibigyan ng comprehensive and thorough review ang trabaho. Ang purpose nga ng pagpapublish sa journal ay pag-disseminate, di ba, ng knowledge. O paano ma-disseminate yun kung close to private yung language. Although sinasabi nila wala namang private language, but if it sounds like a private language, exclusive language, then that will defeat the purpose of research dissemination or dissemination of knowledge. So I'd go for the use of ordinary language when teaching young people, even in the graduate school. Yung teacher ko naman si Professor Acuña, English-Filipino naman magturo yon sa MA at saka sa graduate school. English-Filipino naman magturo yon. Ang ano niya talaga, ang goal niya ay maintindihan. Hindi niya goal na turuan kaming magsalita in straight English or in straight Filipino. Ang importante muna sa kanya ay naintindihan yung pinag-aaralan. Ngayon, kung magsusulat na ng thesis in straight English, saka na lang yun na problemahin. Ang importante, tama yung pagkaintindi ng konsepto. So, kung mas maintindihan in Filipino, sabi nga ng Critical Pedagogy, mag-Filipino. Gamitin yung language ng estudyante. Okay.
That's sir?
Yes, sir.
Kasi kanina yung feedback on it's not a defense but an addition. Kasi actually yun po yung sa church people, clergymen, including me, we're guilty of preachy, pulpit language, tapos technical terms. Some terms, we can't do away with the technical aspects, technical language, church language. Pero yun po yung challenge sa amin kasi yung evangelization ngayon, especially sa mga kabataan. When you say God, faith, these are abstract terms. Kailangan nila ng konkreto, visual. Kaya yung power of storytelling. tapos yung, syempre, witnessing. So, sabi nga, people listen today to witnesses who walk the talk rather than yung mga teachers would simply say, this is the way. So, mas gusto nila yung witnessing more than teaching.
Yung storytelling, no, it's an important component, I think, of a good case of philosophical teaching. Nearly all the philosophers that I have read would use, especially Wittgenstein, he would use metaphor, right, to illustrate what is otherwise abstract. And I think that's one of the tasks of a good teacher of philosophy. Yung maghanap ng appropriate examples or situational examples to clarify what is otherwise vague or abstract. Magaling si Wittgenstein dyan. Mahilig sa metaphor si Wittgenstein. I'm not a fan of Wittgenstein, but all the same, you could learn from the way he uses metaphor to illustrate